In December of 2010, businesswoman Andy Kawa was gang raped on a beach in Port Elizabeth. Even though police were alerted to her abandoned car, not far from which she was being held, they failed to locate her, and she was raped for the entire night. She took legal action against the Port Elizabeth police for not performing their duties and won. Andy joins us now to talk about this. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Of course, we are speaking to you within the context of an open letter that you wrote to the president about if he really wants to help, he needs to rethink the way things are done, especially the issue of appeal.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to the listeners too.
So tell us what drove you to write that letter?
I think that the president made some commitments that he would be looking at reviewing cases that have not been properly investigated. And also, which I think that it's something that is important because people out there are walking knowing they are perpetrators. Some of them are walking thinking that their cases are still live, whereas they've been closed long time ago. And this issue of not properly investigating cases has an implication that the rape perpetrators walk around free. There is impunity in the system because they're never brought to book. So I thought this is a good step, but we need to see him making sure that even the other partners in government, the department, the National Prosecuting Authority and the judiciary will follow suit in ensuring that cases are investigated and rape perpetrators are brought to book. But
with special reference to your own particular case, and I know there are some aspects of it you can't talk about because of the sub judice rule, but why were you referring to the appeal with reference to your case?
I mean, I think that my case, Judge Sefton, the acting Judge Sefton, wrote a propelling judgment indicating how the case was botched, indicating how the police did not do their duties, and elaborated on the importance of proper investigated cases in South Africa at the current moment, given the plight of gender-based violence and how pandemic it is and how serious it is to the safety and constitutional rights of the people. So I thought that there has been a compelling judgment, and which forces the police to do their duty, both their constitutional and legal duty of investigating cases so that perpetrators are convicted. And then now they are appealing that. And the reason for the appeal being that it will open floodgates for other cases, whereas the president has actually opened the floodgates by saying, let us have cases reviewed let us have cases of victims reviewed. And mine is one case. And we need to know where should we go to put our case numbers for our cases to be reviewed. I think that he needs to be practical about what has to happen because there are many people who are going to come.
Against the principle of appeal in general, because as you say, based on this judgment, it basically finds police dereliction of duty. The acting judge even awarding you 40% of the damages. So are you saying by appealing, they are then disagreeing with the finding that they were derelict in their duty because they didn't investigate enough why your car was at the place where it was?
Well, I think that appealing means that they actually are disregarding and disagreeing with the judgment, whereas the judgment is fairly clear. So we're saying that the appeal is actually waste of taxpayers' money because at this point in time, they should be looking at fixing the systems. I think that what's important for us and for me is to see that the systems, when it comes to reporting of cases, to investigation of cases, are being fixed so that there is proper investigation and so that we can have conviction. Currently, I think that the conviction rate of cases that are reported, of the cases that are reported, only 4% go to trial. It means that you've got a 96% of cases that do not meet, that are not fit to go to trial because they've not been properly investigated. Now, we must also remember that not everybody reports their cases because there's a lack of confidence in the system itself. And of those cases that have been reported, only 0.5% actually get conviction. So we actually are allowing perpetrators to walk free all the time.
Just in your case, and I don't know how much you're willing to share of it, what challenges did you face, if any, in reporting the matter?
Well, I reported the matter. I tried to assist in the investigation. I had to push all the time, giving leads to the police. And so I think that the willingness of the police and also the preparedness of them to actually do the work is what was lacking. And that is why they say the case was
willingness,
botched.
I know this is a difficult question to ask, but with the lack of enthusiasm or willingness born out of either not believing you or just attitudinally towards the charge of rape itself?
I think I would say, based on so many other cases that we have seen, that it is an attitude towards rape cases. You know, the police live in the same society that is taking rape as norm. So I think that the attitude of looking at rape cases, if there's a heist, for an example, everybody goes up and down. I mean, there will be special units that are put together to deal with that. If there's murder, there is that case is taken seriously. Whereas rape, it is where the rape victim has to actually prove that
the burden of proof is on the rape victim as opposed to
the rape victim.
Perpetrator.
And the system and the investigators do not put as much serious effort in investigating than they do in cases of heist, for an example.
So some have made the argument that there is obviously a lack of training, a lack of resources. Some have even suggested that maybe you need a higher number of female police at the forefront of interacting with victims. Do you think something like that is plausible if we are saying that generally as a society there's a lack of empathy for women who have faced such crimes as gender-based violence or rape?
I think that it is true that we need people who are trained at the forefront of the investigation of cases. You need people who've got the will and the commitment to do the investigations, who also have the tools and the resources that are necessary. Police will sometimes say, please call me. They will send, please call me to the victim, because they cannot call the victim because they say they don't have airtime. You find that in so many rape victims report the police asking them to call, whereas having airtime is one of the tools that is necessary to do their investigation. So they need the resources.
Finally, what would you say to those who've been through a similar incident as yours, and by that I mean rape, and also finding closure?
I think that finding closure is getting justice done. And we depend on the police, on the on SABC, because they are the gatekeepers of our justice. It is the investigator who is very crucial in putting together all the information that is necessary that can then be taken to the National Prosecuting Authority that will decide whether there is enough information and evidence to go to trial. We also hope that the NPA shouldn't just accept what they've been given. They need to be proactive in querying cases where there is poor evidence to find out why is it that they have not been investigated properly. And then after the NPA, you've got the judiciary. The judiciary also has a responsibility on ensuring that when the cases are brought to them, the punishments that are received are steep. Okay. You find cases of suspension where a person is charged and then suspended, meaning that there is impunity.
Thank you so much for joining us, and really do appreciate you speaking to us. There is a rape survivor, Andy Kawa, and we're going to take a look at your sports in just